Welcome, Billy. Thank you very much indeed for talking to me this afternoon. Can't wait to hear a little bit more about your sport, which is trampolining. I know Mike and I've been to see you a couple of times training, so I've seen how physical it is and how much fitness you need. Not actually seen you compete in a competition, but I know over the years you've done incredibly well. So yeah, I'd just love to hear a little bit more about that. So first of all, can you tell us a little bit more about the high levels of fitness that you need to maintain for your sport and how you go about doing that?
Yeah, well, the fitness needed is immense, really. You're doing 12 to 16 hours of training a week. Before lockdown, I was doing a lot of sort of physio work, cardio work.
Yeah.
That was before training and after training. So sort of mixed it up, because in a training session, you're really only allowed on the trampoline for 15 minutes ago, because it is really taxing on your body, because it takes a lot. All the forces involved, it really pushes your body.
Yeah.
So I've been doing a lot of strengthening, physio, but then after lockdown, we've been doing sort of Zoom meetings for body conditioning, so a whole much more generalized. So we've been doing works on legs, ankles, upper body. Then we've done lots of sessions of more stretching, so back flexibility, hip flexibility.
Yeah.
There's a whole variety that we're doing.
Yeah, brilliant. As a runner, I never thought I'd say that I loved yoga, but I've got into yoga and actually I find it incredibly effective. So
Yeah,
you're
difficult.
Probably really flexible and really strong.
Yeah, it's a challenge.
It is a challenge. It is for me anyway. So tell us about the moves you do. I mean, there's so many and they're so technical. Can you tell us about a few and how you go about mastering each one?
Well, lots of different gymnasts approach a new skill very differently. Some go straight for it. Mm-hmm. Some just gradually break it down. I'm one of the ones that gradually break it down. So I'll break a big skill down into its basic constructs. So for example, a half out, which is a double front somersault with a half twist at the end. Mm-hmm. I break that down into a front somersault and a Barani. So a Barani is front somersault with a half twist.
Okay.
And that way I can make the skill seem much more simple and basic in my head. And it's just easier to do, to put together. The one problem with that though is if one construct goes, the whole skill goes.
Okay.
Which I have recently had problems with. Mm-hmm. But when you do learn a new skill, most people go from pits. So we've got a big inflatable pit at our club, then to a thick mat, to a smaller mat, then to the trampoline bed. But yeah, learning a new skill, very difficult. But if you approach it in the right way, it can be much simpler.
Yes. So that what you've just described is all very much a physical practice. Do you do any visualization to practice any of these skills?
Yeah, there's a lot of visualization involved, especially when you do lose a skill. You can't just go back on and do it and remember how you do it. You've got to think through it in your head, watch videos, have the sound in the background. There's a whole variety of different things you can do to help prompt your brain to remembering how to do it. But visualization is a very key part.
Yeah, fantastic. So I think you got involved with a little bit of that in the last lockdown. Maybe you did some good work on visualization. So how much time might you spend doing visualization for your sport?
Well, I usually do it in the morning. So when we were back at training, I'd come off a training session and I'd visualize the skill. Say if I was having a problem with a full in half or a full or a miller, I'd sit down and just think through it in my head, maybe watch a video, then have the video playing in the background so I can hear the sound of the gym, the sound of the trampoline, and just really think through it in my head, which helps massively. But now we're not at training, I do it in the morning and then before I go to bed. And sometimes it'll be an easy skill, sometimes it'll be a very complex skill. There's a whole sort of variety that I do. Yeah.
It sounds like you've really got the hang of that. I think it's a skill or a sort of a mental training technique that you either really like and really get to grips with, or it's something that you struggle with. But I know a lot of professional athletes do use visualization, whether it's to calm them down or get them excited or just to practice the skill. So it's nice to hear that you've got that in your toolbox and you're working with it.
Yeah. It took me a while to get used to, but in the future, when we are back at competitions, it's something that I'll definitely utilize there, calm nerves.
Yeah.
And just sort of visualize the skill that I'm about to compete, because you're training a good year for one competition where you're doing 4 runs or you're doing a routine. So you're training gear for a year just for 10 seconds, 20 seconds.
Yeah.
So there's lots of pressure involved, and visualization and that mental work really helps on that side of things.
Yes. I've also heard that it even just because you're thinking about it, it still transforms into muscle memory as well. Even though not physically doing it, it still has the same, not obviously the same effect, but a similar effect on the body.
Yeah, because back in training, when I was doing a lot of visualization, I did start to feel where I'd take off for the skill and just end up not really thinking, not really doing anything. My body just kicks in and does it for me. And it's a really great feeling when that happens. You feel really in control. You feel much more safe. So it's a really good thing.
Brilliant. That's kind of what they call flow, isn't it, in athletics or in any sport? It's when you're doing it all via your subconscious thoughts.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So tell us, what is the hardest part of trampolining?
Well, lots of different people have different problems. Some people it's with injury and physical ability, but I'd say most people it's sort of the psychological side of things. Sometimes you're learning a new skill which you've never done before, and it can be really, really daunting. And in trampolining, we've got this thing called lost move syndrome. So you could, for example, I've had it with a couple of skills now. So full in half, which is a double somersault with a full twist in the first one and a half twist in the second.
Yeah.
And I had a massive problem with that. I just couldn't get it right in my head. I didn't know how to twist into it. I had a real problem with that. And that was lost move syndrome. And it took me a good 6 months to get that skill back. And every now and again, it still goes and I've got to work to get it back. But it is, I'd say, definitely psychological.
Yes. So how did you get it back? What did you do to overcome that?
It did take a while. At this point, I wasn't doing so much visualization, but I sort of dabbled with it because I wasn't a massive fan of it. I found it really, really difficult at first.
Yeah.
But I knew when it started to work, when I could think, right, okay, this is how I break it down. This is the basic move, and I go on the trampoline, and I do the prep skill. So I just do a full twisting front and then a Barani. I wouldn't do it all in one. And gradually I was able to piece it back together and get the full in half back.
Brilliant. Oh, good. Sounds like a logical sequence and way to handle it. Definitely.
Yeah.
And so why do you love trampolining so much? What is it about the sport that you love?
For me, it's the people you get to meet, the places you travel, just the feeling of just flying through the air, doing something that most people don't know how to do, can't imagine themselves doing it. It's a really nice feeling. Yeah. Because I've been all over the place with trampolining, all across England. I've been lots of places in Europe with international competitions. It's a real great experience.
Yeah, brilliant. And you do two types of trampolining, don't you, Billy? You do just like straightforward trampolining that we can all imagine, and then you do double mini trampolining. Can you tell us a bit about what's the difference between the two?
Well, trampolining is much more, in my opinion, it's much more technical. You've got to focus much more on how tidy you are. So that's called form. You've got to focus on sort of where you're traveling on the bed, on the trampoline. So that's called horizontal displacement. So you don't want to be pinging all over the trampoline. That's when you lose a lot of marks.
Yes.
Whereas DMT, I feel it's much more explosive. You've got that big, quick run at the start. And you've got the hurdle step, the jump onto the trampoline. And the bed itself is much more tight. So you've got to really have a lot more sort of tension when you hit the trampoline, because the slightest thing that could go wrong could lead to a serious injury. And I've experienced that a couple of times now where it's not quite right. There's a slight niggle and it just goes. Yeah. So I wouldn't say I have a preference either. I like them both as much as each other. Trampolining is great because you can go much higher. There's much more involved with it. Whereas DMT, it's much more explosive. You've got much more power with it.
Yes. So when I've seen you on both, I've seen you do like a sort of sequence on the trampoline. If you're in a competition, how long does the sequence last for on the trampoline versus your explosive movement on the double mini trampoline?
Well, the trampoline, it depends obviously how high you jump, how many bounces you do into the routine. I'd say maybe 20, 25 seconds, including the sort of the preparation. So getting your height at the start.
Yes.
Whereas DMT, it's only a couple of seconds. You've got the run down the track, and you've got the mount or the spotter, and then you've got the dismount, and then you've got your landing. So there's much less time to do everything. But obviously you've got the explosive aspect of it, and the run and the hurdle step, but it's much shorter than trampolining.
Yeah, but both, you've got to get it right first time. You've got no chance to get it back.
Chances.
It's like, that's it, isn't it? Yeah. Cool. Tell us a little bit about your injuries. I know you've had a couple. You're just coming out of a broken ankle. So sport is like that, isn't it? It's never linear. It's never sort of always straightforward in one direction. You're going to go forwards and backwards and you're going to have setbacks. Tell us a little bit about how you've coped with the setback of injury and coming back even stronger.
Well, I've had 3 major injuries now. My neck, my back, and my ankle, which is the recent one. My neck, I can't remember my age. I reckon I was about 12, 13.
Yeah.
And I did my neck, and that was where I tore all the muscles in my neck and the muscle down the left-hand side of my back and my neck. That was the worst bit. And that was on double mini trampoline.
Okay.
So I was at a slight angle again, and I just went for the skill, double back somersault, and I landed right on the side of my neck. I sort of curled over. That for me was a massive sort of blockage. I couldn't get over it for months. Obviously, when I started to come back to trampolining, it was a skill that I avoided. I completely avoided it. If I had to do it, I'd try and find an alternative. Yeah. Which at that point, it was very difficult for me because I was at an age level where I had to have that skill. Okay. And I had to constantly do it at competitions. Otherwise, my tariff would be a lot lower, which is sort of the difficulty. You get extra marks for how difficult the pass is. Okay. And it took me a while to get that skill back. And at that point, I had no visualization. I couldn't break the skill down. So it was just more, I've just got to go for it now. I can't stop avoiding it. Yeah. And it was very difficult at first. It took me a while to get back to it, but I eventually did it, and I did it. First time I did it was in Stoke, actually. We had a spring series in Stoke, when that was the first time where I got it back. And that was a massive boost for me. And I went back into training and I was able to do them every session. I tried to do 3 a session. Yeah. And it just really, really helped me. Yeah. My other main injury was my back. So full in half, I said about that earlier. Yes. I jarred my back and it went all the way back. So my feet stayed on the trampoline, my back went very far back, and it tore all the muscles lower down. Okay. That was very, very scary for me. I'd say even more scary than the neck. Yeah. Because for me, it felt fine. The skill itself was fine. It was my landing. Yes. And for some reason, my brain just could not cope with full and halves. And it took me, I'd say, a year and a half to actually get it back. So that was a big, big knockback for me. Yeah. And the ankle recently, I came off the DMT slightly to the side, and I landed right in the middle of a gap in the matting, and my foot just curled and crunched onto the concrete. Ouch. Which that I say that one hurt the most. But to be fair, the skill I was doing half and half twist into a double front somersault with a half twist at the end. Yes. So it was a technical one, but sort of much less technical than some of the others. So I was able to get that back pretty easily. Yeah, so it sounds like you're going to come back getting that skill back again very quickly. So you're not apprehensive or fearful of the skill. It's just that you had an accident and you broke your ankle. Yeah. Cool. Okay. And you've won medals, lots of medals, gold medal in Holland. Tell us more about that and being selected to be part of the England team. Yeah, well, I've won lots of different medals over the years. I've got countless at sort of the regional level where we travel out to Bath, I think 4 or 5 times a year. Yeah. And I always do well there, mostly because it is competitive, but at my level, because it's the regionals. So Southwest, there's lots of very good gymnasts, but in my discipline, in my age, there aren't too many. Okay. I think I've got 4 others on trampoline, but I've always managed to end first. Yeah. And I've had the odd competitor on DMT, but I've been very strong in the regionals. Yeah. Nationals with the English championships and the spring series competitions, I've managed to do well at them. But for me, the biggest one was, I think, last year before that. Yeah. British championships, I managed to come second. Yeah. Which the first British medal for the club. I was delighted with that one. But you can have all the medals. That's a bonus, really. I do this sport for the fun of it, stay healthy. And the biggest sort of sense of pride is the relationship I've managed to have with my brother, because my brother does it at a similar level. Yes. He's also in the England team. Yes. And it's really, really great to see how he's come on, how our relationship has come on. Yes. Because when we're in that environment of immense pressure, he's who I look to for support, and vice versa. So it's a really really good sport to get involved in.
Brilliant. I think that's links to a couple of people that I know, follow from what I do with my sport. That's the Brownlee brothers, and obviously we know about the Murray brothers. So I think it's quite nice having that sort of sibling rivalry, but also really good support as well.
Yeah, because he started when he was 3 years younger than me, and already he's catching up with me. So it's a great little competition at the club, because us two, we're at the highest level there. So it's really just us two competing together, who can get the biggest skill, who can get the highest, all of that. So it's really good. It really helps me in training, and I reckon it helps him as well, having that competition.
I'm sure it does. Well, Billy, it's been so nice to talk to you. You've told us so much about the sport that we didn't know. And the moves that you do sound extremely technical. Even the names are technical, aren't they? Yeah. So I do remember talking to Mum about it at the beginning, and she's so supportive, isn't she? But she doesn't necessarily get involved with all the detail and knowing exactly precisely what all the moves are, which is probably the best way to be as a parent.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks, Billy.
Thanks, Fiona.